The franchise continues to live on. Creed 3 tells the story of Adonis Creed leaving boxing to focus on his family life. However, when an old friend, Damian Anderson, played by the great Jonathan Majors, comes back into the fold, he is brought back into boxing to stop Damian and reclaim his own title as heavyweight champion of the world. Well, everyone, it is here. Creed 3 drops in theaters today, Friday, March 3rd, 2023. I've been very excited about this, like a lot of people, while a little bit skeptical, less skeptical than a lot of people, simply because of the Sylvester Stallone and Erwin Winkler situation where he's not appearing in this film, but I'll get into that later. So I was able to check it out last night, Thursday, at 7 p.m. at my local Regal Theater, and here are my thoughts. So to give you a bit of backstory on this film, there has been a lot of drama surrounding this film. A couple of years ago, it was announced that Michael B. Jordan would be returning to play Adonis, but not just that, he would be coming to direct this film, which would mark his directorial debut. I always thought that was a great idea, simply because he's been in this business for about 2 decades now. He was on The Wire, he was obviously in Black Panther, both of them, spoiler alert for Wakanda Forever if you haven't seen it. He was in Fruitvale Station, which was kind of the film that got the ball rolling for him. He's an actor that I think can do anything. He can show the drama, then the emotion, he's got physicality, he's charming, he's got it all. But he's also learned a lot throughout his years, so I was really excited when they announced that he was going to be directing the film. But all that being said, there has been a lot of controversy that, spoiler alert, if you haven't been paying attention and you've been living under a rock for a year plus, probably more, Sylvester Stallone, Rocky himself, is not in this movie. And that has turned off a lot of people with this film. To catch you up with the whole situation, about a year ago, Frank Stallone put out a tweet essentially bashing Michael B. Jordan, Creed, and this film's existence. And because his brother wasn't in it, Sly, and while this may not seem like a big thing, Sly liked the post, Sylvester Stallone, he liked the post, and then they immediately took it down. But a lot of people were able to get photos of it before. So that is automatically worrying. Then throughout the months, especially recently, when Sylvester Stallone was doing interviews for his TV show with Taylor Sheridan, Tulsa King, he gave some more information, essentially fully laying it out, where he gave the information of Erwin Winkler, the producer of the original films, and I'm pretty sure the guy that kind of gave Sylvester Stallone his start with Rocky, was the only one that would allow him to play Rocky and write the script, somehow got the rights, and Sylvester Stallone feels like he has been wronged, because in Sly's mind, this is his baby, and he wants it back. He wants the rights, and he thinks that he deserves it, and Erwin Winkler isn't giving it to him. Throughout the weeks leading up to Creed 3, Sly has kind of been dropping some stuff involving the Rocky franchise, where he dropped notes on his Instagram a couple weeks ago that once again he was forced to take down, essentially on Rocky 7 and what Rocky 7 would have looked like. I wasn't able to read it properly before he was forced to delete it, but from what I've heard it was kind of interesting. And for me, this sucks. I think that it's a shame that this might be the end of his character, and his last return was Creed 2, which I didn't think was a bad send-off. I just think I wanted a better one for him. That didn't leave it, that was clear he's never coming back. Whereas Creed 2 is kind of obvious he might be coming back at some point, and I don't want that thread kind of being left dangling. And so it sucks. And so I 100% think he was ripped off, and as a massive Rocky fan, you can't not side with Sly. with all that being said, as many people have said, movie making is a business. You get what you negotiate. Like, so if you negotiate, hey, I won't get the rights back in 35 years, or I don't keep the rights to this in any sort of form, that's what you negotiate. That's what you get. You may get paid, but you're not going to get what you don't negotiate for, most likely. And so it sucks that he does not have essentially any control over this franchise anymore. But you know what? It's what happens. And so while I am morally 100% on Sly's side, even though he completely overreacted and was a little iffy with Dolph Lundgren when they announced that Drago spinoff, which I still don't think is a very good idea, in the summer, I'm still on his side because he's Rocky. However, we all know it's a business, and it's not what to quote Robert Meyer Burnett, it's not what you want, it's what you negotiate. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into the review and start off with the positives. And the first thing that I want to praise this film for is the dynamic between the cast and just everyone. The cast here is fantastic. You've got, obviously, Michael B. Jordan, Tessa Thompson, the guy that plays Little Duke from the first two movies. You got Phylicia Rashad. I think that's how I'm saying her name correctly. Maybe not. Correct me down below. Kindly, please. As the mom. And then, of course, Jonathan Majors is coming in as the villain. And everyone in this film is great. But the shout out has to go to Jonathan Majors. He is incredible in this. If you thought he was incredible as Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which he was good, but he was nowhere near as good as I was hoping we would be. He's 1,000 times better in this. He's incredible in this. He pulls off the physical performance where you can believe that one punch from this guy will knock you out. You can believe that he's a scary, intimidating villain and imposing character. Where just standing in front of him, you can feel the tension where it's like he could swing and you could be down for the count. And it's quite like, it's riveting because you don't know, and he's also very unpredictable, so you don't know what he's going to do next. From there, I also think that kind of his plan to do everything and his ultimate goal of film is really well set up, where it's played out kind of like a mystery of what is he really trying to do, what's his end game, what's his end goal for this, and I thought he was great. Another thing here is obviously Michael B. Jordan. This has been kind of his child, I would say, where this is now his franchise. He's great in the film. He is just as good as the other two. He gives a lot of emotion. There's one or two scenes in particular with his mom that he brings it, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see what he's going through and what's happening, of all this betrayal and all this loss of, as soon as he leaves boxing, he feels like he's pulled back in for all the wrong reasons. And so he's incredible. This once again shows why he's one of the best actors working today, because he can pull off the charming side, he can pull off the physicality, and he can actually act. He's very good in this film. Then, of course, you have Tessa Thompson, who plays his wife in this film as Bianca, and she's great. She's been very good in all three of these movies. I thought she was a little underutilized in Creed 2. That was one of my issues with that movie. And so it was nice to see her more in the forefront this time, where she's kind of talking to Adonis. She's what's kind of driving him. And I liked seeing her relationship with Adonis, Michael B. Jordan, and how the relationship has gone from boyfriend and girlfriend when they first met to they have a kid now. They have to take care of this child. And I thought that was really interesting. And these three movies, they've all had great chemistry with each other. Each and every single one, they've had incredible chemistry with each other. So that's definitely a highlight. And you have to give credit to Phylicia Rashad. I think I'm saying her name correct. She's the lady that plays Adonis's mom, and she's really good in this. She gets to show a lot more emotion. Once again, I thought that was a big negative of Creed 2 is that she wasn't in the film enough. She's a big player in this film. She is kind of in some ways what drives a lot of the story and a lot of the emotions forward, especially in the last half. And so I thought she was really good in this. And she kind of gives a perspective to how tragic Dame as a character, Damien, is, and how Adonis and Damien's story is very tragic. And it's very interesting how she does that. The fight scenes all around are really good. I especially liked the final fight scene where it's Adonis and Damien, and no, that's not a spoiler, it's shown in the trailer. It's really good. Michael B. Jordan has spoken throughout the last few months about how he's been drawing from anime for the fight scenes. A lot of people seem to not be enjoying that. I'm not an anime fan, so I don't really have anything to connect it to, but I dug it. I thought it worked well. I thought that it kind of gave an interesting side to how these fights are going down of, okay, he's paying attention, there's certain shots where he's paying attention to all the places where when someone throws a punch, Adonis moves out of the way or gets hit, but he sees an open, somewhere where it's open for him to strike next in the next round or something. And I thought that was really interesting. You can feel and you can hear and you can feel every punch being thrown. And so overall, I thought the fights were great, even though a lot of people seem to not be liking them that much. I also really enjoyed the mystery aspect that is brought to this film involving the character of Damian Anderson, Dame, where he comes along to get help from Adonis, and immediately you can kind of tell that Adonis doesn't really want to be there. He kind of wants to let the past die. And you can feel that they have this great chemistry, but there's a little bit of tension, two halves that can't connect. And so it's really interesting seeing why they're like this and why Adonis is kind of at arm's length. And then ultimately when you get kind of a lot of the reveals of what's really going on with Damien and why he's here and what he's actually doing with Adonis, it's pretty rough to think about because of the betrayal angle, where you can just feel the betrayal, where that's not a character that you wanted to go down that path, but they do. And so when it happens, you can feel it and it hurts. And my final positive for Creed 3 is that it really works as a family drama. This is one of those boxing movies, sport movies, Rocky movies that if you take away all the boxing and all the action and fighting, it still really works, and it's still a rock solid character study. It's still a rock solid family movie about family and friendships and the past catching up with you. And that's, I think, the greatest asset of the film. There aren't too many films that can do that, where if you take away the main draw, it still works. This is one of those films. Moving on to the mixed aspects, there weren't too many negative things that I had about this film. The main one of the mixed aspect is that there are going to be some people, and I didn't think this, that think Rocky should have been in this film. I probably should have put this in the positives, but whatever. There are going to be a lot of people that think Rocky should have been in this film. Go into this expecting no mention of Rocky. It'll change your expectations, and I think for the better. My second mixed aspect is probably my last one, and that is there's a lot of stuff that's set up in this film that isn't really paid off. I personally didn't have a lot of problems with it. Where I will have problems with it is if they don't follow it up in the next movie, in Creed 4, which they've said is happening. So there's some stuff involving his daughter that is set up in this film. They start to explore, but never, they kind of leave it hanging there. And I didn't mind because I'm just assuming that they're going to follow that up in Creed 4 and Creed 5. If they don't, I'll be disappointed, and my score will probably go down a bit for this one. But there weren't too many things about it, but it wasn't something that I didn't like. And actually, my last mixed aspect is probably that there's some moments where you have to suspend a little bit of disbelief, where there are some things that happen that, as someone that isn't a sports guy, you still have to a boxing fan, you still have to really? Is that how it works? But it's not something that pulls me out of the movie. It's just something where it's really? Okay. And my one and only negative of the film is that I think that it maybe could have been 5 minutes longer. Maybe 10. To be honest with you, it took me a lot to find what I didn't like about it. I had a great time watching it. And so it is something that bugged me a little bit, but overall, it didn't affect my viewing experience. It does jump from second act to third act a little quickly, but it didn't really affect me that much. I personally loved it, and that is the only minor gripe that I had with it. So overall, guys, I really, really liked Creed 3. This is, to me, maybe on the level of the first Creed. I'm not saying it's better, but it's neck and neck, right there, maybe a little bit below it. But I had a great time with it. This is a refreshing movie for the theater industry where we've just gotten 3 months of kind of just mediocre movies, apart from one, which in my opinion was Knock at the Cabin, whatever. This is a really refreshing, great movie that I loved that came out. It was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, in my top 3 most anticipated movies of the year. And I always love it when a movie that I'm super excited for lives up to my expectations. It lived up to all of my expectations, and it beat a couple of my expectations, especially with Jonathan Majors. So if you are a fan of the Rocky and Creed franchises, then you should absolutely go out and check this film out. It's filled with some great characters, some great performances, and all around a great story combined with some great action. So if you're excited and you've been kind of iffy about it, absolutely go check this one out in theaters. And then when it comes to home video, go buy it. Well, that was my review of Creed 3. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you get to go see it this weekend. If not, go see it next weekend, unless you're seeing Scream 5, which I'll try and get my review out for it next weekend. It might be a bit of a tricky weekend because that's going to be a packed weekend for movies. We got Oscars, we got 65 coming out that weekend, and I got some other stuff coming out that I got to work on. So I'll see if I can get that out. But if you don't see Creed 3 this weekend, go see it next weekend or sometime throughout the week. I promise you'll have a good time. Even people that haven't been loving it as much as me have been really, really enjoying it. I haven't seen a single review that has disliked it. So that's my review. Thank you for watching, and have a good night, everybody.